The Democrats in the House of Representatives impeached the President of the United States. They're supposed to make their case based on the vote they took in the House of Representatives to impeach the President of the United States. Not to embellish it, not add to it. Why did they impeach the President of the United States? Based on what evidence? Not that we need more evidence, we need more witnesses. They keep repeating themselves about trials in civil and criminal courts. This isn't a trial in civil and criminal court. Then they keep repeating themselves about past impeachments where witnesses were allowed and so forth. This is completely different. The Democrats in the House of Representatives have treated this president like no president has been treated in American history, period. So there's nothing similar about this to anything. Which is why the United States Senate, the Republicans in the majority, have a duty to uphold the Constitution against the House Democrats and the House managers. Two of these committee chairmen are House managers, with Adam Schiff leading the management team. So let me just be clear, because most of the legal analysts and reporters on cable and network, they don't understand. These House managers have a job that requires them to defend their impeachment, or, if you prefer, to prosecute what they've already done. Not to bring in quote-unquote new evidence and quote-unquote witnesses in the hopes of finding other information. The Senate's not voting on articles of impeachment. The Senate's not voting on new articles of impeachment. The Senate's not voting on amending existing articles of impeachment. The Senate is voting on what the House of Representatives has done. Now, they voted to impeach the president. And they're having a hell of a tough time defending it all day long with their video clips and their graphics. They're regurgitating their hearsay, they're connecting of the dots, missing documents they talked about in the House, and then drawing their own opinions and conclusions. Some news people have found it very compelling. It's not compelling, it's preposterous. It's never been compelling. Now, the Constitution doesn't say that impeachment is whatever the House of Representatives says. The Constitution defines what impeachment is for. Treason? Where's the evidence of treason? None. Bribery? They even poll tested it. Where's the evidence of bribery? None. And other high crimes and misdemeanors. In other words, other similar offenses. There aren't any. There are none. So what the Democrats in the House of Representatives did is they changed the impeachment clause of the Constitution without an amendment by expanding it to include their narrative. They voted to impeach the President of the United States on two articles that are unconstitutional. They're not embraced by the language in the Constitution. Treason, bribery, other high crimes and misdemeanors. And so, now that it's in the Senate, they make two arguments: that the evidence is overwhelming, but we need more evidence. The evidence of what is overwhelming? There is no treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. And none is specifically asserted. None. And so we get into the weeds here with these long, inane, monotonous arguments. And what are they? Well, this one said this and this one said that. It's not the purpose of the Senate trial. Not in the least. not in the least. What's basically been happening today on the United States Senate is a farce. A farce. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the job the president's lawyers have to do and the job the majority in the Senate has to do is defend the Constitution. But in this case, not against the president, against the majority in the House of Representatives. We don't need lectures from tyrants about witnesses. We don't need lectures from tyrants about transparency. We don't need lectures from tyrants about cross-examination and evidence. No, because they provided next to none in the House proceedings. I am now convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, convinced that the House and Senate Democrats were colluding with each other from day one. They share the same talking points, the same strategies. And they decided that they would railroad the President of the United States in a Star Chamber, Stalinist-type environment in the House. And when it got to the Senate, they would try to railroad the majority, knowing there are weak links among the Republicans, Collins, Murkowski, Gardner, Romney, among others. And then push for witnesses and more evidence in the Senate. And when Nancy Pelosi delayed for a month, sending the articles to the Senate was to give them even more time to collude and to plot and to plan. This has nothing to do with what the president did. If it wasn't this, it would be Russia. If it wasn't Russia, it would be campaign funding. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Now, what's troubling to me is we're starting to see some weakness on the Republican side. McConnell has already changed his proposed rule. It was supposed to be 24 hours each side to make their case over 2 days, 12 hours a day. Democrats complain, hell, we'll be here till 1 in the morning. Of course, what they don't say is it also covers prime time. But 1 in the morning, nobody will be watching. And some of the Republicans pressured McConnell, who's easily pressured, to go to 3 days. So now it's 8 hours a day for 3 days. And what about evidence? Well, maybe the Democrats will be able to provide some evidence early on in the process. Well, I'm looking at the charts they're presenting, Mr. Producer. Isn't that their evidence? I'm listening to their statements. Isn't that their evidence? Is somebody stopping them? No, they need new evidence. But wait a minute. This trial is about the vote of impeachment based on the information that was used to impeach the president. The articles were passed, they claim, based on the information they had gathered and accumulated. You can't now go to the United States Senate and say, we need more. No. Remember what I said. This is about a trial on the articles that they passed based on the information that they used. It's not a trial about the articles they passed plus additional information that they may come up with to promote it in the Senate.